Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to day one of the Republic Day Forensics speech training. Um, Before we start with the speech training, I wanted to give you a brief intro about what Indian Debating League is all about. It is India's biggest public speaking and debating tournament that we organize every year. But apart from that, Indian Debating League also organizes, participates, and trains multiple debaters from across the world. Till now, we have trained around 69,500 plus debaters. We have also conducted and participated in more than 115 debating tournaments. And that basically means that the idea that we try to actually incorporate in people is that participate in as many competitive tournaments as possible, because debating is not just a hobby. It is something that you should basically inculcate as a competitive skill, because at the end of the day, if you're continuously practicing for something, the only way to actually check and test your skill is through competition, which is why debating as a competitive sport is extremely important. But what we also try to inculcate is the values of integrity, nationalism, etc. Because at the end of the day, we also give chances for individuals to represent their states. So, for example, Indian Debating League is exactly like IPL, where we make state teams, we make people participate from their state teams, and then they basically qualify against each other. They go against each other. So the one that you can see is, I think, from 2019, where Harish Narayan, one of the biggest debaters from India. I would highly suggest you all to actually Google him. So he was also one of the core adjudicators for the tournament. These are the kids who made this really cute backdrops of Maharashtra, if you can see. And we had great judges as well. So that's the idea of Indian Debating League, not just winning on like local level, national level, but also winning on international level, such as Yale, Berkeley, Imperial, and so on and so forth. But you always start from small, which is why any local tournament, any national tournament is the building block for you. And then obviously making India proud at the end of the day is extremely, extremely amazing as well. So that's about Indian Debating League. But moving forward to the key tournaments of tournament dates of RDF, you're going to have 3 day of training session, 17th, 18th, and 19th. Your training sessions are always scheduled from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., which means you should always sit in front of your laptop or computer PC exactly by 5:50, and you should not be late. The second thing is that your qualifiers rounds are going to be 3 rounds. All of these 3 rounds are going to happen on 21st Jan online. Now, the only part which is going to be offline is if you qualify on 21st January based on your 3 round scores. You're going to go to 26th January 2024 finale day, which is going to be at IIT Madras. So that is going to be offline. Other than that, every single thing is online. Your training sessions, your qualifiers rounds, everything is online on Zoom. With this being clear, let's move forward to the training masterclass. Now, obviously, if you think I'm going fast, because I understand there are students from third standard as well, please feel free to put it in chat box. I will go slow. Don't worry about the dates and me sending the PPTs. I'm always going to send the PPTs and recording link post the session as well. But moving forward with respect to what exactly you're going to learn in these training masterclass, the first session, which is today, is going to be very basic. So I want to teach you 2 things. First, what is the introduction to the format, because it's a very relatively new format. Second, it's going to be and more importantly, is going to be theme explanation and discussion. So I'm going to tell you about what is the theme of RDF, why is the theme, and what are you supposed to actually prepare for with respect to your topics. Now, tomorrow, which is 18th, is going to be session 2, where I'm going to tell you how to frame speeches, how do you identify different parts of your speeches, how do you make sure that your speech is more coherent, how can you make sure that your speech fulfills the judging criteria, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, there are always 3 metrics that judges judge you on: matter, manner, method, which is what I'm going to teach you as well. Now, last thing is going to be demo session and practice. Original oratory is going to be something that I practically do not make everybody speak, but I will basically give you a couple of videos that you are supposed to watch. We will probably watch one video together, and then we'll try to observe the entire video and try to make notes on what exactly you're supposed to learn from those people who have mastered the art of original oratory. Is this clear? Are there any doubts on this? Because I think more doubts on theme explanation and format will come forward. All right, moving forward then. So this is the theme. The theme is highs and laws of democracy. Now, before I actually tell you about what is highs and laws of democracy, I want you all to tell me if you know what puns are, P-U-N-S. You don't know what puns are? Do you like puns?
Ma'am, I've heard some of them, but none of them are coming to my mind at the moment.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So the theme itself is an example of a pun, highs and laws of democracy. Yes, Vashi, do you have a pun?
Yes, like I heard one day.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it goes like this. Why did the banana go to the doctor? Because it was not peeling well.
Yeah, that's a pun. That's a pun. Good job. Yes. So the theme is also a pun, which means whenever you see things like highs and laws of democracy, laws is not LOW law, but it's LAWS, because whenever you see things like high, you automatically your brain functions like highs and lows of democracy, which is also one of the interpretations of the motion. But before I actually tell you what the motion interpretation, the theme interpretation is, I'm going to tell you as to why we came up with this theme. Can anyone tell me why we celebrate? And I think it's in on the PPT as well. Why do we celebrate Republic Day?
The Constitution was published on this day. It came into effect.
Constitution published, or did it came? Did it
Came into effect. Came into effect.
When was it published then?
I'm not sure about that.
Do you guys know when do we celebrate Constitution Day? So Constitution Day is not equal to Republic Day, by the way. Let's see if anyone can tell me this. No one. I want you to go back home, come back tomorrow and tell me when do we celebrate Constitution Day. Nonetheless,
It's
so Republic,
November.
yes, it is 26th November, correct. So Republic Day is celebrated on 26th January every year. On this day in 1950, the Constitution of India came to effect. The reason as to why Constitution is extremely important is because it's not just grand norm of the nation, it's also the supreme law of the nation, which means it guides any other law, bylaw, rule, regulation that exists in the country, which means that no other law can actually be derogatory to Constitution and the fundamental rights of the Constitution. Now, obviously, these are very technical terms for people who are listening to law for the first time, but the idea is that the reason as to why we came up with this team is a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to establish the essence of law and the importance of law in democratic nation of India. How do we know India is a democratic nation, by the way?
Because of elections?
Yes, that's correct. That's a very logical way to see it. But did anyone ever go and read the preamble of Indian Constitution? So another homework for you is to go back and read the preamble of Indian Constitution. It specifically mentions India as a democratic republic, which is why we know that India is a democratic and republic nation. So we want you to also understand and recognize the fact that there are different characteristics of India as a democratic country. It's obviously not similar to all other democratic nations that exist. India is the largest democratic nation. We have a large chunk of diversity, which also means even though a large so many parts of our constitution, so many parts of our laws, justice system, policies, legal theories are also derived and adopted from different other countries as well. But we still try to maintain the essence, and we try to make sure that it is somewhere related and suitable for the nation in and of itself. With that basically means you have to read about couple of challenges that individuals and country actually face with different laws. Obviously, laws are made by parliament, but the idea is that law should be something that people accept for the welfare of people, and many other guidelines that are given to parliaments as well. But over and above, the theme tries to establish two things. One, what are the ups and downs, i.e., everything and anything that in the or the challenges that exist for largest democracy for making and implementing laws. Secondly, everything and everything about law in democratic nations. So we're going to talk about rights, duties, liabilities. We're going to talk about different laws that are probably in controversy. What can we implement? What can we make sure we can do better? So at the end of the day, we'll try to make we will be critical, but we'll also try to embrace the positives of the law as well. Are there any questions? Now the idea is this is just the theme. Your topic is going to be released later. So the theme is this, which means still the finale. This is going to be the theme. The only thing that would probably change is your topic. Now, topic is going to still remain same for 3 rounds. It's going to be only one topic for one category. So junior topic is going to be different, middle category, middle topic is going to be different, and senior topic is also going to be different. But yeah, topic is going to be released tomorrow. Any doubts now? Yes, Swachi.
In this, the second point, are they talking about like only India as a democratic nation, or all
No,
the
so it could also be comparative, or it could just take inspiration from different other rights that are available in other different democratic nations, but not in India. And why, if it exists in other nations, why India should or should not consider those rights. So this is just an example, but yeah, it could be any democratic nation.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the theme then? Okay, moving forward. What is original oratory? Original oratory is a speech written by a speaker with the intent to inform or persuade the audience or a topic on a topic of significance. The point to note here is that it's informative. It's supposed to persuade the audience, which means two things here. One, your strategy should be persuasive. Second, your content should be informative, which means it should be very, it should have statistics, studies, it should also make people aware about things and so on and so forth. Which means the primary objective behind your speech is to form a, is to make sure that whoever is listening to the speech, if they weren't aware about that particular societal concern, your responsibility is to raise awareness about that particular concern. So by the end of your speech, you should create a spark in the minds of the people to actually make a change or put some effort in order to make a change in the first place. Oftentimes, we're living in society where we don't care about what's happening around us. The only time when we care about things is when the thing directly affects us, which is why oftentimes people don't recognize the challenges and issues that exist around us, which is why you're supposed to make sure that you are the one creating that awareness spark in the people to make sure that people actually are aware about it, but two, they're also doing something about it. That's all the purpose of original oratory. But the second idea is of like it could also be the case that that's a specific issue that you have found out through your lived experience, through your research and stuff like that, which is why it's not just you creating awareness, but what is awareness? You have to tell everything from scratch, like this is what the problem is, this is what the solution is, this is how we can probably solve it, and so on and so forth. Which is why in original oratory, obviously you're supposed to like make an entire story, as in make an entire movement out of that speech from scratch. Now, the other understanding that exists with original oratory is two. One, the thing says original, which means that you're supposed to write your speech by yourself. It has to be something out of your creative freedom. Oratory is obviously it's a speech event, which means you're not supposed to read your speech. You're supposed to by heart your speech as much as you can. Anyone who by hearts their speech is always going to get more credit as opposed to the one who is reading off the paper. And I think there are reasons for that as well. Simply because if you're reading off a paper, and you're trying to also influence people. This is difficult because you're unable to connect to the audience, and your motive is to connect to the audience, right? So your idea is to connect to people, influence people. Just think of, for one day, just think that you're a social activist and you are probably a politician who's trying to persuade people for a particular change, and this is how, keeping this in mind, you're supposed to make your speech. That's original oratory. Are there any questions for original oratory as to what original oratory is? Okay. Now, I want you to also know that the speech time for each individual or each category is different. So for the junior category, it's 3 minutes. For middle category, it's 4 minutes. And for senior category, it's 6 minutes. Now, the structure of speech is the ideal way for you to organize your thoughts and then prepare and draft your speech. However, there is no hard and fast rule for it, which means the only hard and fast rule that exists for any structure. Can anyone tell me 3 important parts of speech, as in the speech that you give on stage?
Body, I mean the introduction, body, and then conclusion.
Correct. So the only 3 things that you're supposed to stick to at any point of time is introduction, body, conclusion. But specifically for original oratory here, there's going to be introduction, context, body. Anecdote is not necessarily between body and conclusion, but anecdote is basically for you to know that you can actually tell a personal story at any point of time entirely in your speech. So you can use your anecdote in your introduction, in your context, in your body, or in your conclusion. Now, the idea is that post body, you should have conclusion and concludes or closing statement. Now, introduction is as and very similar to what you do in different other speeches. And I'm not going in depth with this because that's the session for you tomorrow entirely. But context is specifically for, remember when I told you original oratory is for people to actually make people aware about it. Now, you can't simply create awareness if there is no context to the awareness. Like, why do we need this awareness in the first place? Why did you choose this topic in the first place? Because even if you will have your topic or prompt tomorrow, that topic is just an inspiration for you, because you will still go ahead and make your own on your own topic by itself, which means that we are only going to give you a sub theme for the tournament. You're going to go ahead and out of that sub theme, you're going to pick one topic, and then you're going to go ahead and make your speech on that. I'm going to give you an example. For example, if the theme that is given tomorrow is to say challenges faced by court systems in India, that's the theme. Now, there are multiple challenges that are faced by court systems in India, but I am supposed to come up with one challenge that I feel is the most crucial, and I need to create awareness for that. Now, I could come up with the topic that backlog of cases. Now, backlog of cases is just basically piling up of a large chunk of cases and them not getting enough amount of attention by the judges, them getting delayed justice, them not getting enough hearing dates, and so on and so forth. So that's the problem that I identify. Now, what I would go ahead with and do so is the first thing, I'll tell my topic. Obviously, I'll recognize it, but on the top of that, I'll also go ahead and tell people as to why I chose this topic particularly. So what's the context? Context is people. Context is probably, let's say, there are XYZ number of cases per judge, which basically overburdens the judges, which basically reduces their efficiency to actually deal with cases and stuff like that. So that's the issue. And that's why the topic becomes important. But why is inefficiency of judges so problematic? Because if judges are actually inefficient, they will not be able to go ahead and tackle the cases as with as much of merit as possible. That also means there are high likelihood of judges making errors. There's also then high likelihood of people making appeals to the judgment, which basically again creates more burden to the judge, to the courts, and so on and so forth. Now, that's the context. I could just then go ahead and give my body. Now, what is body particularly? I'll just give you a brief explanation to this as well. Now, body is exactly how I understand that this is not a debate. However, in original oratory, it still incorporates a large chunk of ideas from debates. The reason as to why that's true is because um, you're arguing with yourself and with your audience, which means for you a particular issue is probably more important and for others it's not. Which is why the argument or the debate is to say XYZ is important or XYZ is not important. Why is XYZ important is then your body, which means you're supposed to tell me probably three reasons or how many ever you think you can fit in your speech as to this is the reason as to why this is crucial. This is the reason as to why it's causing issue. This is why we need to actually pay attention to it. So your body is actually argumentative, and it's again going to have the same structure of assertion, reasoning, claim, all of which I'm going to deal with tomorrow, which is why I'm not stressing on it. So just to give you a gist on what's actually going to happen tomorrow. Now, important clarification that I wanted to give you is all three rounds will have the same sub-theme, which is going to be released tomorrow. Attending and preparing all rounds is mandatory. You cannot miss one round because the way how we calculate qualifying participants is through average of all rounds, which means that average is addition of all score divided by 3. So if you miss one score, it's still going to be divided by 3, which reduces your numerator, and therefore it's going to be lesser in average, which is what I don't want from you. So prepare for all rounds, meaning just prepare one speech and give that speech in front of three different judges. That's all you're supposed to do. And you should also take full opportunity and full you should probably utilize the entire opportunity of giving your speech to 3 judges, getting feedback from 3 judges, right? So attend all rounds and prepare well. But yeah, you can refer to sheets in the worst case scenario, but do not read out your entire speech. And as I said, whoever is going to by heart their speech and give it is always going to get more marks than somebody who is referring to speech. With that, for today's orientation is theoretically over. But if you have any doubts, you're always welcome to ask me right now.